Warning, after this, you may never measure prices in dollars again. Measured in Bitcoin, my house fell 90% and it made me richer. Here's the door out of the trap, and 3 Bitcoin trajectories that explain why. Why does everything seem to get cheaper for Bitcoiners and worse for everyone else? Let me start with the line that makes people angry and curious at the same time. My house just dropped 90% in value in 3 years, and I'm delighted. Same house, same time frame, completely different outcomes. How is that possible? Jeff Booth describes it like this. Most people are shouting at the jailer while the cell door is already open. They could walk out and live in freedom anytime, yet almost nobody leaves. Today, I'm not just telling you the door's open, I'm going to point straight at it, show you what's on the other side, and make a few predictions about where Bitcoin goes next. Here's what's actually happening underneath the headlines. The money we use, dollars, pounds, euros, is created when banks lend. When someone gets a mortgage, the bank doesn't hand over deposits sitting in a vault. The bank types the loan into existence. If every loan were repaid, there would be no money left in circulation, because the money was born as debt and dies when the debt is repaid. That's why the system has one rule it cannot break. Prices must rise over time or the whole thing implodes. Not because the real world is becoming more valuable, but because the measuring stick, our money, is being diluted. The treadmill speeds up. We run harder each year just to stand still. Our time buys less, not more. Now look at technology. Technology is the exact opposite force. Technology relentlessly makes things cheaper. The computer in your pocket obliterates a 1990s supercomputer at a tiny fraction of the cost. So why does almost everything else feel more expensive year after year? That's the trap. In a truly free market, prices fall as entrepreneurs compete to deliver more for less. The compounding effect of AI, automation, better materials, and better processes pushes costs down. That natural deflation is good. It means the work you do today buys you more tomorrow, more next year, and dramatically more in a decade. Your time appreciates. You can see this clearly with your phone because the credit system can't fully keep up with the speed of improvement there. But think about houses in a genuine free market. As methods, logistics, and materials improve, the cost to build should fall. Food should become cheaper as farming and distribution get more productive. Clothing should follow the same pattern. Technology now touches everything, so everything should get cheaper. The credit system can't allow that, so the system fights against nature by debasing money to force prices up even while technology tries to push them down. There is, however, a way out, and it isn't a theory class. It's a very practical question. Imagine a form of money that is decentralized and secure, where no person or company can change the rules or the supply. Imagine money that is open, permissionless, so no bank can gatekeep it. Imagine money bounded by energy, meaning it requires real work and physical resources to produce. No one can create this money by typing on a keyboard. And most importantly, imagine money that isn't a product that gets replaced by a shinier version next year. Imagine a protocol, a set of rules, that grows stronger as more people adopt it, the way the internet did. Hold those properties in your mind: decentralized, open, protocol-driven, energy-bounded, secure, and ask yourself, if money had these attributes, would that unlock the first truly global free market in history? Comment down below what you think. A market where governments don't hold more power than individuals, where the best ideas win rather than those with access to cheap credit, where competition continuously makes things better and cheaper without monopolies, cronyism, lobbying, or subsidies warping the game. On first principles, that's exactly what it would do. I'm not asking you to accept that Bitcoin is this thing. I'm asking you to test Bitcoin. Does Bitcoin actually meet those criteria? Bitcoin is decentralized, open, a rules-based protocol, energy-bounded through proof of work, and hardened by 15 years of attacks. If the answer is yes, then that free market already exists, and the minute you start measuring in Bitcoin, your perspective on prices flips. Let me show you how violently it flips. I've been aware of this for about a decade and spent the last 5 years testing Bitcoin in real life, with real money. When I bought my house in 2022, the house cost me 21 Bitcoin. I recently calculated what the house is worth now in Bitcoin terms, roughly 2.6. In 3 years, priced in Bitcoin, my house fell 90%, yet in fiat terms, it's up by thousands. I think in Bitcoin all the time and still hadn't run this math until now. If I missed it, you can be sure most people never even consider it. Tell someone their house fell 90% in 3 years and they'll laugh in your face. But once you move your time into Bitcoin, this kind of divergence shows up everywhere because you're measuring in a unit that gets stronger instead of weaker. And this isn't happening in a vacuum. The spot Bitcoin ETFs are live. A new pipeline now connects pensions, advisors, and institutions to an asset that was once dismissed as a toy. The fourth halving already cut new supply in half. Those two rails, lower issuance and regulated demand, don't guarantee a straight line, but they do change the structure of the market. Bitcoin supply is set by code. Investor demand is learning to dollar cost average into Bitcoin. So does this repeat? Will we see houses, cars, food, and services fall in Bitcoin terms again over the next 3 to 10 years? In my view, yes, though not in a straight line. The halving reduced the flow of new Bitcoin, ETFs absorb supply, and the rising fraction of global savings is discovering a monetary protocol that preserves purchasing power over time. Bitcoin issuance responds to physics and code, not policy meetings. That asymmetry is the tell. But let's put this into human terms, not trading terms. The acceleration point is AI. In a natural free market, AI would be the greatest gift we've ever received, making goods abundant, productivity explode, and costs plummet. Inside the fiat system, AI makes the trap worse. AI is already replacing tasks at breathtaking speed. In my own marketing work, AI displaced 6 freelancers in a year, and the tools are still early. As more people lose income, housing drifts further out of reach, hopelessness rises, and political pressure builds for universal basic income. Where does that come from? From suppressing natural deflation and printing more money, which raises prices further. But if prices fell consistently and savings became stronger year after year, you wouldn't need the stipend or the bureaucracies that distribute it. Fiat pushes people to trade freedom for survival. Bitcoin lets survival get cheaper every year so freedom can expand. Here's where the divergence gets personal. If you had simply bought a small, steady amount of Bitcoin for years, say $100 per week for 8 years, you'd now sit on something in the neighborhood of around 3 Bitcoin. The dollar value swings around with price, but the key insight is how fast your expenses fall when you denominate your life in sats. If your monthly costs are $5,000 and you model a conservative long-run average appreciation for Bitcoin of, say, 30% per year, modest compared to the past but strong enough to illustrate the point, then roughly 3 Bitcoin could be sufficient to cover a lifetime's expenses from today, depending on how quickly you transition and how you smooth volatility. The step change happens when your unit of account switches. The curve breaks in your favor, not because your lifestyle collapses, but because your money stops collapsing. Now let's talk about where Bitcoin could go. I want to make 3 clear predictions about the Bitcoin to fiat relationship, and I'll frame them in plain language you can replay a year from now and judge. None of this is advice, it's a set of scenarios built on the rails that already exist. In the near term, over the next 12 to 18 months, I expect a regime defined by intermittent ETF inflows, minor selling that is structurally lower after the halving, and periodic liquidity shocks. In that world, Bitcoin tends to grind higher in purchasing power with gut-check pullbacks along the way. If the spot ETFs continue to pull in net inflows on average and issuance remains where the code set it, I see a plausible trading range that stretches from deep corrections into exuberant spikes, with a reasonable center of gravity emerging somewhere between $90,000 and $150,000 per Bitcoin. In this band, goods that are already tech-heavy, consumer electronics, software, services, keep getting cheaper in SAT terms, and everyday items like groceries start to feel lighter across a full year, even if a single month is noisy. It's messy, but the drift is upward against fiat and downward in sats for what you buy. In the midterm, by the next halving in 2028, the novelty of pricing in sats stops being a meme and becomes a practical habit for a minority who start calculating car purchases, rent, even salaries in Satoshi terms. If spot ETF penetration into retirement accounts keeps inching forward, if a handful of sovereigns and corporates keep allocating on the margin, and if self-custody norms continue to spread, the market graduates from a niche asset to an alternate saving standard for millions. Under those conditions, a fair and falsifiable expectation is that Bitcoin spends meaningful time in a band that could range from $180,000 on the low side to $400,000 on the high side per Bitcoin, with violent trips outside that band when liquidity surges or dries up. In this world, housing in many regions looks materially cheaper when measured in Bitcoin, even if fiat sticker prices are flat or rising, and people who don't switch their unit of account feel like life is getting harder while your personal inflation quietly goes negative. In the long term, by the early 2030s, if the protocol remains decentralized, open, energy-bounded, and secure, and if ETF rails continue to coexist with widespread self-custody, Bitcoin stops being a trade and becomes financial gravity. Balance sheets treat Bitcoin like a default long-duration reserve. The story, what's the price of Bitcoin, becomes less interesting than how much more does my hour of work buy this year? In that world, I see a credible probability distribution that includes downside shocks of 50% or more, but a central pathway that sees Bitcoin explore $500,000 to $1,500,000 per Bitcoin over a full cycle, with long stretches of consolidation in between. Will there be crashes? Of course. They are the toll for crossing the bridge early. Drawdowns of 30 to 50% will still come, often from heights that feel unearned and ridiculous. Let's come back to the human side, because that's the point of all of this. If you're still living 100% in fiat, start with 1%. Not emotionally, mechanically. Buy a small amount of Bitcoin. When you're ready, hold your own keys. Price one single daily item in sats for a week. Watch what happens when you stop asking, how many dollars is this? And start asking, how many sats is this? The shift isn't religious, it's practical. When your money stops melting, you think differently. You take risk with projects, not with your savings. You stop sprinting just to stay in place. You notice the cell door has been open the whole time. And my house? In fiat, the graphs look triumphant. In Bitcoin, the house fell 90% in 3 years. I don't find that depressing, I find it clarifying. Measuring in fiat tells you about the system. Measuring in Bitcoin tells you about reality. In a decade, if the rails that are already in place keep doing what they were designed to do, issuance halving on schedule, adoption compounding through both self-custody and institutional channels, AI pushing costs down faster than policymakers can push prices up. I expect the gap between those two realities to become unmissable. Your phone was the preview, your grocery bill will be the sequel, housing will be the box office hit. When you price in Bitcoin, the door is open, and it's been open for years. I can't make you walk through it, but I can show you what's on the other side, and I can promise you it isn't just about number go up. It's about time going up. It's about the work you do today, buying you more tomorrow, and then compounding. Bitcoin makes that possible. If this shifted something for you, share it with one person who needs to hear it. Don't take my word for it. Test the 5 criteria yourself. Is Bitcoin decentralized, open, a protocol bounded by energy, and secure? If it is, you've already seen the door. The rest is choosing when to step into Bitcoin.